NASA pushes our technological and intellectual boundaries with each of its monumental achievements. But the greatest of them all must surely be visiting another world.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish.
On the 25th of May, 1961, President John F. Kennedy challenges the United States to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
And perhaps the greatest engineering challenge in the history of mankind, NASA has a mere 8 years to pioneer the technology to shoot men into deep space and return them safely to the Earth. But in 1961, rocket technology isn't powerful enough to reach the moon. A lunar lander hasn't been designed. Spacesuit technology is in its infancy. And we don't even know if humans can survive in the vacuum of space. In 1961, walking on the moon is science fiction. But by 1970, it must be science fact. And in July 1969, Apollo 11 makes history as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin become the first of 12 astronauts to walk on the moon.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
We copy you down, Eagle. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
I'm at the foot of the ladder. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The 6 Apollo lunar landing missions demonstrated the most audacious attempt to challenge humans on the technological frontiers of the 20th century that could ever have been put before a single group of people.
For a magical moment, humanity was united as one. People were saying, "You did it for us." It wasn't seen that the United States had set foot on the moon. It was the human race. And so for me, that's the magic of Apollo 11 and all of those subsequent missions.
In the afterglow of Apollo 11, NASA lands 5 more exploration missions on the surface of the moon, each more advanced and ambitious than the last.
Of the 6 Apollo lunar landing missions, the last 3 were incredibly productive scientifically because they built on the previous flights in a very big way. They had a lunar module that could stay 3 full working days on the surface, that had a lunar roving vehicle that could carry the crew miles to different sites of geological and scientific interest. It carried a much larger suite of experiments to operate for nearly 10 years after the crew returned, sending information back to scientists all over the world. That prodigious outpouring of data was really one of the greatest achievements of the whole Apollo program and transformed it from a political objective in getting to the surface ahead of the Russians into a very, very major scientific endeavor.
This unprecedented scientific yield unlocks the history and evolution of our planet and the solar system. And the benefits of NASA's Apollo program are even far more wide-reaching for us all.
Sending human beings to the moon laid the groundwork for exploration of the rest of our solar system. So sending robotic explorers off to Mars, Venus. But they also laid the way for international collaboration. Sending people up to the International Space Station, working together for a common cause would not have been possible without the technology developed through the Apollo missions. Hopefully, although it's NASA's greatest achievement to date, there's going to be plenty more equally exciting achievements down the line for exploring the solar system.
Between 1968 and 1972, 24 men fly to the moon and 12 walk upon its surface for the benefit of all mankind. The flags and footprints symbolize not only NASA's greatest achievement, but the achievement of an entire generation and the promise of mankind's future in space.
It's the world taking the next steps. It's not just NASA, and NASA's been fantastic and led the way, but all these voyages in space, we're all doing this together.
Whatever the future may hold for space exploration, it's clear that what NASA has achieved in just a few decades has forever defined how we live on our home planet and how we will explore our future in space.